So, Thomas Jefferson once said, "To compel a citizen to contribute monies for the propagation of that which they detest is sinful and tyrannical." And another founding patriarch, Thomas Paine, he said, "Whenever a government seeks to control or manage other people, the desire to help those people is almost never stronger than the desire to dominate them and their resources." And yeah, both of them founding Thomases, early adopters of the modern democratic experiment, I think they were onto something. So yeah, welcome to the Grepublibat number 4, Citizen Allocated Tax Systems, Part 1. This is one of my favorite political possibilities, you guys, citizen allocated taxes, which you could also call citizen allocated tax initiatives, since there aren't really any citizen allocated tax systems that I know of yet. But yeah, so what is a citizen allocated taxes? Well, okay, so you know sometimes on government forums they're like, check this box if you would like to support the Little Wildlife Birdies Fund or whatever. Like, it's kind of like that, just pumped full of like 20 grams of creatine a day until it's bibbity-bobbity-booed up from that tiny little checkbox option to like a Superdome full of chocolate rainbow brownies. And you might not think that this subject is yummy like that, but I'm telling you, the United States was originally founded on tax disputes, right? Like the Boston Tea Party and that. And good old Uncle Ben Franklin, patron saint of this video blog, he's one of the people who said it's like there's only two things certain in life, and that's taxes and some other thing. But yeah, don't bore us, get to the chorus. So what if we as citizens had the freedom to decide or allocate exactly where our tax duties went? Like we had direct control of how all that money was spent how we wanted. But okay, that's a nice idea, but how are we supposed to do that? Well, okay, so first ground rule we need in order to make this digestible is that how much each citizen should be paying in taxes. Like, you know, if rich people should like be paying more than poor people and the brackets and tiers and whatnot. We're gonna, you know, we're not gonna touch on that for now. I mean, that topic needs like its whole own episode, which might do someday. But for now, any amounts we'll be talking about will be in terms of percentages of however big or small everyone's tax duties are. So we'll be talking in terms of slices of pies, you know, whether they're big or small pies. Next ground rule for exploring and implementing this idea is that I think we'll still need elected politicians to decide what institutions, both of which already exist, I might add, will and can be included or eligible for citizen allocations. So like, we can't have citizens doling out their tax duties to like swing a bag of gerbils, YouTube channel, Patreons. Like, there's got to be a system in place for deciding what good recipients for tax monies could be. And yeah, let me sum up the basic possible avenues as I see them anyway. Put it in the comments if you think if I missed any. But you know, so like right now we got infrastructure, transportation, military and veterans affairs, agriculture, education, healthcare, welfare, housing, social security, international aid, public art, public media, governmental research, subsidies and stimulus packages, or some people call those bailouts if you like. And then of course debt payments on all of those expenditures. And yeah, it's kind of simplified, but I think like most of what we're going to want to be spending our money on as a society is going to fall under one of those categories. And I hope listening to all those got you started to think like, well, how do I want to allocate my money to all these things proportionally? Or maybe you're thinking like, I don't even want to include one of those institutions. Like, you know, you're Ebenezer Scrooge and like, I ain't giving my money to welfare and princesses and their 14 babies. Or maybe you're just like, really love Mr. Rogers. And so you're like, here you go, PBS. Like, here's half my tax monies for you and little Danny Tiger there. Or like, what if you're like a conscientious objector and you don't want your money spent on bombs and tanks and invisible stealth planes and Mission Impossible face masks? You're like, you don't like tricking people like that. Or what if there's like a lot of homeless people where you are and you're like, man, we just got to get these people off the streets. It's cold out there. Or maybe you're on a diet and so you're like, let's stop funding the corn farms, man. There's too much high fructose corn syrup around here, man. We got to pull the plug on that. That's like a lot of silliness. But like, and you may be like, hey, Mr. Grepublibat, like this sounds too complicated. Like, am I really going to have to fill out a bunch more forms and stuff and get my money where I want it to be? Like, I already do hundreds of pages of tax worksheets. Or the guy I pay, you know, he does them. And am I going to have to pay him more money? And well, first thing I would say to that would be like, Thomas Paine, he would be ashamed. He'd be like, Those who expect to reap the blessings of freedom must undergo the fatigues of supporting it. He said that, I swear. Democracy is participatory, man. Like, you gotta engage, man. Take part. Freedom is not a spectator sport. And yeah, that said, if you're more of the sideline sort, I got your solution right here. So like, if you don't want to do the homework, your elected representatives could still do your allocations for you like they're already doing. Or if you got the time to lift half a finger, and this is my favorite, you guys, what if you had the freedom to copy someone else's tax allocation worksheet? Like maybe written by a politician you trust, maybe even somebody you voted for and they didn't win, so you could still like use their tax allocation ideas. I mean, that's a nice consolation prize, right? Or even anyone's sheet, like, your patriotic mom, could you publish a tax allocation template for others to copy or use as is, or maybe you could, use it as a starting point. You could then modify to your own specific preferences. And like, you guys, I know this sounds complicated. Like this idea, I mean, I'm telling you, this idea would have been impossible back in the day when everybody was naming their kids Thomas. But nowadays, we got so many more logistical tools. We got accountants with AI computers doing the super calculator algorithms, and I'm telling you, we can make this happen. And it's an exciting time we live in, man. So, I want to know, are you sold yet? Nope. Well, another pro of the system is that because we do taxes every year, citizens will get more say more often. And what I mean is, you only get to elect representatives and presidents like every 2, 4, sometimes 6 years for the senators. And again, like, you do your taxes every year. So more say more often means more democracy towards a better republic. And then this might be on the more idealistic side of optimism, but I mean, if people are taking a look at how their government spends money every year, mightn't it be a good side effect of the system be like accidental citizen education? Like, did you know that around 48% of the discretionary budget goes to our military, which is around 23% of total federal spending? And I mean, wait, what's discretionary spending versus total? Like, what is that even? Like, you're going to learn stuff like that when you start looking where the money's going every year. And knowledge is power. And this kind of knowledge can also mitigate the ages-old problems of payola and bribery shenanigans in politics. I mean, it's as old as the hills, Socrates and all those guys. So, like, right now, like, think about it. Like, how many people do lobbyists and special interests have to convince to swing expenditures their way? Just the politicians, really. I mean, and I'm not saying that all politicians are getting their palms greased all the time and super illicit backroom deals like every other day. But I mean, what I'm saying is it'd be a lot harder to lobster dinner glad hand lobby every single citizen in a country to steer the funds your way, right? Am I right? So, all right, that concludes. The time's getting on, you guys. The algorithms, they've been getting mad at me for doing like 20-minute videos. So we're gonna stop it right there. That concludes part 1 of this topic. And just thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time for part 2.